What is up, ladies and gentlemen? But most of all, you ladies out there, thanks for clicking on another episode of Break the Silence. I am your host, Cyborg. Are the Nuggets the best team in the NBA? Let's talk about it. Split tap! Happy New Year, everybody. We're bringing in a new year with a banger of a basketball game between the number one seed in the Eastern Conference and the number one seed in the Western Conference, the Denver Nuggets and the Boston Celtics. Tonight, the Denver Nuggets took down the Boston Celtics 123-111 in what was a crazy basketball game, a game that had a 39-minute delay because there was an issue with the rim becoming uneven. It was weird. It was wild to watch. Players were getting frustrated. But it was a very fascinating storyline because we got to watch two MVP candidates, Nikola Jokic, the back-to-back MVP, and playing at a very high level again this year, go against Jayson Tatum, who this year is one of the leading candidates for MVP. I believe the odds had him second coming into tonight. In this matchup tonight, Nikola Jokic took home the win. And we're going to break down this game because it was highly entertaining, and the Denver Nuggets look like an incredible basketball team. If you remember before the season started, I posted a video talking about my picks, who I thought was coming out of the East, who was coming out of the West, and I had the Denver Nuggets coming out of the Western Conference. My thought was Nikola Jokic plays at such a high level, and he's finally getting some help this year. And we saw that tonight, and we're going to talk a lot about the Denver Nuggets team and what makes them so special. Before we get into that, first, please take a second to like and subscribe to the channel. We are getting close to 700 subscribers, and that would be a huge milestone. So if you could, please hit that little button. I know everyone's making New Year's resolutions, and I know a lot of yours out there is to find a redheaded YouTuber, that kind of has a body like Dwight Howard, prime Dwight Howard, and you wanted to find him and subscribe to his channel. I think this could be the one. You see my broad shoulders. I resemble Dwight Howard in his prime. But let's get it. I'm joking about all that for any of you who did not get the sarcasm. But let's talk about tonight's game. So coming into tonight, Nikola Jokic was averaging 25.5 points, 10.9 rebounds, 9.5 assists on 62% shooting. He has won 2 MVPs in a row, and honestly, he's got just as good of a case this year as years prior. One of the things that's tough for him is that it's really hard to win 3 MVPs in a row. It's very unprecedented. In fact, the amount of players that have won 3 MVPs is very, very low. So that's going against him as far as the narrative goes, but he's playing as high a level as anybody in the entire NBA. This year, we're seeing elite level basketball from so many players. We have about 6 legitimate MVP candidates with Tatum, Giannis, Jokic, Embiid, Durant, if you want to throw in Ja, and then I'm missing 1 or 2 more off the top of my head, but all those guys are playing at such a high, Luka. And the thing that's really interesting, we have had 10 consecutive days where there's been an NBA player to score at least 40 points, at least 40 points. You're watching some of the highest level basketball in NBA history this year, and guys are coming to play every night, and it's incredible to watch. But let's talk about this Denver Nuggets team and really break them down. This was an interesting matchup because not only did they have the 2 best records in their conferences, but the Boston Celtics were the number 1 rated offensive team in the NBA, and the Denver Nuggets were number 2. The Denver Nuggets are number 1 in the NBA in three-point percentage. And that was kind of the difference in tonight's game. The Denver Nuggets shot 56.7% from the three-point line. Nuggets aren't a high-volume three-point shooting team, but they hit them at a high clip. And that is really, really important. The Nuggets play a majority of their offense out of the post. They're the top post-up team in the NBA. Obviously, that starts with Nikola Jokic. I call him Joker. They're number 1 post-up. They're number 2 in the entire NBA in assists, and then they're number 2 in the NBA in clutch win percentage. So when the game is tight down the stretch, you know who you can rely on, Nikola Jokic, and this Denver Nuggets team plays at a high level. He's, in fact, the best clutch player in the NBA this year. Now, the big difference, I think, this year from last year, obviously you have Jamal Murray back, and Jamal Murray didn't play tonight. But the rise of Aaron Gordon has been of massive importance for this Denver Nuggets team. Last year, he averaged about 15 points a game. This year, he's 17.3. And he is an elite player with Jokic because his ability to slash to the basket at a high level. He could shoot a little bit from the three-point line. Tonight he had 18 points and had the highest plus-minus on the court, plus 23. And you could tell how valuable Aaron Gordon was to this Denver Nuggets team. So they now have 7 guys that are averaging 10 or more points. They have Nikola Jokic, obviously, Jamal Murray, Aaron Gordon, Michael Porter Jr., Bones Hyland, who had a heck of a game tonight, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, and Bruce Brown. So when you're looking at their depth, they can go 7 guys deep that are very good rotation level players. And then you have Jeff Green who can play. And then you start to get into some of these other guys, some of the young guys, maybe they can develop into a decent rotation player. But you got 8 legitimate guys that you can play. And we're talking about depth that's so important in the NBA, especially when you got Michael Porter Jr. and Jamal Murray, who struggle staying on the court a little bit. The thing that's so great about Nikola Jokic, not only does he perform night after night, he's the healthiest superstar we have in the entire NBA. He never misses basketball games, and that is of so much value when you're fighting for playoff positioning. When you're looking at this Western Conference, the difference between the 1 seed and, barely being in the playoffs is so minuscule. So every game matters. Right now, the Denver Nuggets are the 1 seed, and the 7 seed is only 4 games behind. So you're talking about very small margins. If you lose a couple games in a row, you can really drop there. So winning night after night is vitally important, and they're 8-2 in their last 10. This Denver Nuggets team, to me, has everything. They're an elite level offense, and they play good enough defense. They're a middle of pack defensive team, but they got length everywhere. They made it tough on the Boston Celtics tonight. Celtics shot about as bad as they're going to shoot for the season. We'll get into the Celtics a little bit here in a second. But one of the things that I thought was interesting, when you're talking about MVP and the value of Nikola Jokic, I was watching the Boston Celtics broadcast of this game, and the Celtics broadcasters were begging for Nikola Jokic to take rests because the Celtics just simply could not win those minutes that Jokic was on the floor. They couldn't win them. The Denver Nuggets dominated in every facet. And if you watch the way that the Nuggets play basketball is so unique because their ability to grab the rebound and everyone can just run up court. You don't have to have a point guard stop back. It really gets the defense out of their spots and makes it really hard on opposing defenses because of Nikola Jokic, because of Aaron Gordon and his ability to run up the court. They're very good in transition. Obviously, you got guys everywhere that can pass and shoot. You got 5 guys out there on the court at all times that can shoot the basketball. And they have a young stud in Bones Hyland. I really like Bones Hyland. He was talking smack tonight. He kind of brings a little bit of fire to this Denver Nuggets team. Now, one of the things that I think they could use maybe is that enforcer kind of player. The Draymond Green kind of guy, the guy who will talk smack, will kind of fire up his team. That might be something that we need to see from the Denver Nuggets. But other than that, they have everything you want in a basketball team. And I'm so excited to watch them in the playoffs and Jokic with a fully healthy roster, because I think if he's able to make the NBA Finals this year, win the NBA Finals this year, he'll finally be able to cement himself amongst those all-time greats. When you're talking about top 30 all-time, top 20 to 40 all-time, I'd have to think about where he's ranked at if he wins a title, but he has the ability to go there. And when you're talking about how many great players are in the NBA with Luka Doncic, with Giannis Antetokounmpo, the Warriors are fantastic. Ja Morant, Zion Williamson, Jayson Tatum, Joel Embiid, there are studs everywhere. If you're able to will your team to a finals in this NBA, you deserve all the accolades that are coming to you. Let's move on briefly to the Boston Celtics. The Boston Celtics tonight shot 27% from the three-point line. In December, which I know we're technically in January, but since December, the Celtics are the 27th ranked offense in the NBA. So they're still number 1 because of how great they were to start the season, but they're struggling mightily since December. And you knew that they weren't going to play at as high of a level as they were, obviously, before that point. That's unrealistic to expect an offense to be at an all-time great level and to shoot the percentages the Celtics were. But they're really, really crashing back to earth. And you hope that they land right there in the middle where they're still playing a high-level offense and improving on the defensive end of the court. Boston's number 7 in three-point percentage. They're still number 1 in the NBA in offensive rating. But Jayson Tatum tonight, he played all right. He was 0-4 from 3. Jaylen Brown played a heck of a game. Jaylen Brown, I think, might end up being an all-star starter. I was looking at the lineups, and I think when you're looking at the East guards, I think Donovan Mitchell, Jaylen Brown might be your starters. But Jaylen Brown had 30 tonight. Jayson Tatum had 25. But they just didn't get a whole lot of help anywhere else. Marcus Smart was 2 of 12. Al Horford was 3 of 10. And they're hitting a rough patch. But the thing about the Celtics that is so important is that you cannot let losses stack. You're going to lose in the NBA. You're going to have nights or games in a row that you struggle. But you can't let those stack on top of each other because the Brooklyn Nets are coming. The Philadelphia 76ers are right there. The Cleveland Cavaliers, Milwaukee Bucks are right there. Letting you can lose a game here or there. You can lose 2 games in a row, but you cannot let this continue to go on for too long. You have to turn this around. You have to figure out what's going wrong and turn this ship around. So really important stretch here coming up for the Celtics. You do not want to let these losses compound on each other. I believe they're 5-5 in their last 10, which is just, not what we've come accustomed to from this Boston Celtics team. But I do believe that they can turn it around and compete in the Eastern Conference. This Nuggets team's legit. They're crazy to watch. Nikola Jokic is on a different level. We are going to continue to cover games, so please take a second to hit that subscribe button. No one is grinding harder than we are. So please take a second to hit that button. Appreciate y'all watching. Cyborg out.